welcome to Why Should We Vote For You? And do you like that title, Mark?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're going to ask me now.
Well, I think I should introduce you. Mr. Mark Edwardson,
Hello.
former BBC presenter, and you're running for local and Cheshire East elections in Congleton this year.
Yes, I'm one of a group of 6. We call ourselves the Congleton Independents. We're all independent. We all want the same things. That's why we've come together as a group. But there's 6 of us. There's 3 running in the East Ward for Cheshire East Council and 3 in the West, where I'll be. And then the 6 of us are going to do run for the town council as well in the various little wards in town. But there's 6 of us. We all have sort of shared aims and goals, and we want the War Memorial Hospital not just to stay, but to have its services improved. To something like they were in the past. Where's our minor injuries unit gone? When my kids were young, they used that a lot because kids can be a little bit clumsy. Mine were particularly, and even if it's just a minor scrape, you might take them to minor injuries unit, get them sorted out by somebody who knows what they're doing. Now it's a trip to Macclesfield, and what happens if you can't get all the way to Macclesfield, but you can get to Congleton, or you could for a minor injuries unit? Now you have to wait sometimes, depending on the level of the injury. You have to wait for an ambulance. How long is it before they come these days? Thanks to various political decisions made in Westminster. So we agree, the 6 of us, that we need that hospital stay and have its services extended and improved to at least what was available in the past. We're also united in wanting a bit more road safety in Congleton as well. There's a push nationally to have 20-mile-an-hour speed limits imposed in certain areas. Councils like Wigan and Manchester have gone for it wholeheartedly. Cheshire East is doing it, but perhaps not quite so much in Congleton. I mean, my personal view on 20-mile-an-hour speed limits is they should only be imposed where the people in a street want them. A blanket introduction, for me, I would probably oppose. But if the people of my street voted in their own little referendum to have traffic calming measures in the street, I would support them. And that would go for any residential street in Congleton, I should say. Not the main roads. I don't think they need it. But any residential street. But for me, it's the local people who make the decisions there. They know the street better than anybody else. I will take their word for it that it's a rat run or it's dangerous and, the kids aren't safe. But like I say, no, as far as I'm concerned anyway, no blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limit introduction. And the last thing is we've got to think about, the future development of this town. We've had lots of houses, thousands of houses built. There's another 8,000 residents live in Congleton now compared to what there were 10 years ago. But, we've still only got 2 high schools. No new school has been built to accommodate their children, primary or secondary. We were promised, weren't we, down Padgebury Lane, say, for instance, that there was going to be a medical centre to take account of the fact of all the houses that have been built on the western side of the town. Not happening anymore. Why is that? What this town needs is a better plan for its development, and in that plan, it needs less 4 and 5 bedroom executive houses, and it needs more 2 and 3 bedroom affordable houses for local folk. Because it's all well and good getting people in from the outside paying large amounts of council tax in Band F, G and H properties and stuff. But where are the small houses? Where are the affordable houses, I should say, for youngsters? And that's who I'm thinking of. Why do so many young people from this town have to move somewhere else because they can't afford to live here? That's wrong, and that's got to change.
So basically, what you're talking about as well, I mean, being fair for everyone, making it equal. But also better infrastructure in the town.
Absolutely. If you're going to have more people living in a place, they're going necessarily to need more services, aren't they? Or more of the same services, I should say. So there's only so much capacity in the medical centres and the hospital and the schools and so on and so forth. With a growing town, surely your services and your infrastructure need to grow with it. I can't see where the hole is in that argument, to be honest, because more people means more demand.
Where do you think the funding will come from?
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it can't all come from out of the public purse because, as we've seen over the last, since 2010, the swinging, I mean, at times vicious cuts to council budgets and social services budgets and police budgets and fire service budgets and all the public services. Look at schools now. I mean, schools are in desperate need of money. And our schools in Congleton are no different. But yet there are more kids wanting to go there, or the parents want them to go there. So the demand's increasing, but the amount of money they've got to spend in real terms is falling. It just makes no sense to me. Where does the money come from? Well, fundamentally, it's not going to come out of council budgets and education budgets as they are. They've got to increase. And I just don't buy this financial black hole thing that Rishi Sunak and all his mates are, talking about, because that puts fear of God into us all, doesn't it? We're all in this massive debt-ridden society all together, so we shouldn't be asking for more, that kind of thing. And it's all very much a sort of know your place, don't ask for any more gruel, peasant, because we won't be giving it to you. But then you look at how much money is made in stocks and shares. The FTSE index is almost at 8,000 again now, so there's lots of profits going in there. There's gigantic profits made by the energy companies recently. The money is there. It just needs to be attracted into government by politicians. But you know what? I think the politicians we've got now quite like the idea of shareholders and large companies making vast profits, don't they? I could only speculate as to why, but what it does, and it's very effective, is it means people with no money who feel vulnerable will not complain because they don't want to feel any more vulnerable. They don't want to be on Skid Row. They don't want to be, thrown under the bus. And some of those people will do anything to avoid that future for themselves. And that's completely understandable. But in modern parlance, they've been gaslit because they've been told that by people who are spending, 300 quid on a starter in a posh London restaurant.
We hear a lot about levelling up with the Northwest, but we don't really see much of it. Over in Germany, when you weigh up how East Germany was levelled up with West Germany, and if you go over there now, you can see it's more of a level playing field. Do you think that would work for England?
I think the German experience... Excuse me, Stuart. I think the German experience is possibly more extreme. I mean, there are vast pockets of inequality and poverty and deprivation. I mean, if we're just talking about England, but across the UK as well. I know parts of places like Liverpool and Manchester and Birmingham where, people are desperately poor. And we constantly hear about this, we're the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. Well, yeah, for some people, it's working. But for a lot of people, it isn't. And you know what? It's not just the large cities where that's a problem. It's here in places like Congleton as well. We have a poverty and deprivation problem, but we don't have a government which seems to want to do anything about it. In fact, quite the opposite. Since 2010, I mean, look at what austerity's done. How much money has been stripped out of things like council budgets and the NHS. In real terms spending, it's on the floor, isn't it? And that's all down to austerity because apparently we were meant to mend the roof while the sun shone. Do you remember when David Cameron said that? So in other words, don't spend money on people who need it because it'll be all right. Once the storm comes, the damage will have been fixed. And it wasn't, was it? Because national debt went up for an £800 billion, in 2010, which by any stretch is a gigantic amount of money. And it reached 2.5 trillion this week. So where's all that money we saved from austerity gone? If it's not to have headed off a crisis with the national debt. What happened? Where did it all go? And don't say pandemic, because that cost us £400 billion. There's another roughly £2 trillion that's gone somewhere. And £2 trillion is roughly equivalent to 2/3 of the gross domestic product, the entire income of the nation on an annual basis. £2 trillion. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? I can only speculate, but some people have very well-heeled friends who like to be even more well-heeled, don't they? And, they don't really care about people like you and me who live on ordinary streets in ordinary towns like Congleton, do they? In fact, they don't even think about us. That's got to change.
So if the independents get in, do you think they will be doing their bit to fight poverty?
Well, I mean, it's got to be part of the plan, hasn't it? You know, I mean, you can't take any pride. Well, I say you can't. Some people maybe do take pride in the fact that there are haves and have-nots. You know, the rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate. You know, God made them high and lowly, etc., etc., etc. It's ingrained in our society, that, isn't it? The class system demands capitalism. God, I'm going to sound like Jeremy Corbyn here, but please don't think that. Capitalism demands there are haves and have-nots because the haves are supposed to be the example to the have-nots that they can have. But it doesn't work like that, does it? Because the haves have skewed it in such a way that the have-nots find it extremely difficult and nigh on impossible to become a have. So poverty does need to be addressed. But how do you do it? That's the question, because poverty is effectively a lack of money. It's no more complicated than that, is it? It means that some people just don't have any cash. And then if you live in a society where cash is the lubricant to everything, you know, it's not just about buying stuff, is it? You know, cash moves around and keeps the economy flowing, right? But if you've not got any, you're not part of that, are you? So what we need is we need more money into public services. Now, that's something I personally will be pushing for. Now, as a member of, say, the town council or the borough council, if I'm lucky enough to be elected, I don't know if there's much I can do to persuade central government to up the amount of money that it gives to local authorities on a personal level. But do you know what? If we as independents on Cheshire East Borough Council, say, for instance, ally ourselves with the folk in Alderley Edge and Wilmslow and Crewe and Nantwich and all that kind of stuff, and become a block which has hopefully a majority, a working majority in the council chamber, suddenly you've got an organisation there that represents 400,000 people that can start to stamp its feet and say, come on, we've got to do something about poverty. You know, and we want it done quick because this is affecting people's lives really, really badly. And it's affecting the futures of kids and our grandkids. That's the point at which we as a group can say, right, come on, central government, do something about it. And then you ally yourself with others in other councils around the country, and you become it's a powerful thing, doesn't it? It's like a snowball effect. It builds on itself. And maybe then they'll have to take notice. But you know what? In the meantime, you can only do your best with what you got, can't you?
Well, that's true. Anyway, Mark, thanks for talking to us today.